You're listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by the National Association of Convenience Stores.
Welcome to Convenience Matters. My name is Jeff Leonard. I'm with the National Association of Convenience Stores, and we are here to talk about things that matter to convenience stores. If they matter to convenience stores, they matter to you because you're probably in a convenience store. On average, consumers are in a convenience store every other day buying food or other items, and I welcome my other
Co-host.
Hey,
Jeff. How you doing? This is John Eichberg with the Fuels Institute and NACS. And like Jeff said, we're here to talk about things that power you, power your vehicle, keep you going all through town every single day of the year.
So today I think we have a pretty interesting topic. What we're going to talk about is we're talking about bringing disparate groups together. And I'd like to welcome our guest, Amy Slechta. She is with Convergence, which is involved with policy resolution, bringing together disparate groups, and in particular around nutrition. So welcome, Amy.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here.
Thanks for joining us today, Amy. And what we'd like to talk about today in particular is the whole role of nutrition and what Convergence and what your group has done to assist convenience stores in really improving or finding new ways to sell nutritious items in stores. So what does Convergence do? If you could just basically take us through bringing together disparate groups, what issues do you cover and how do you cover them?
Of course, yeah. So at Convergence, we believe that when you bring disparate groups together who may not normally see eye to eye on an issue, you bring people together with the widest ranges of views and opinions and expertise over a sustained period of time, then they have the ability to build trust with one another, to really understand the viewpoints from a different perspective and to learn from one another. And then from there, once you form these relationships and trust, you can start to look at ways to work together rather than spending all your time and resources fighting one another. So looking at ways to develop cross-sector solutions to a big problem. And as we're going to talk about today, the project that I manage is our nutrition and wellness project, but we also look at things like K through 12 education, economic mobility and poverty, and some other big issues, national problems.
So real quick, from a structural thing, how long have you guys been around?
We have been around since 2009. And the Project on Nutrition and Wellness dialogue began in 2012.
And how long did it take before you got these people who don't like each other in the political world? They actually got to sit down and actually understand that recognizing the perspective of their opponents is a critical element.
Yeah, so on the Nutrition and Wellness Project, we spent about a year doing interviews before we brought everybody together. So we wanted to understand what their concerns were, what their viewpoints were, kind of where the potential opportunities were, if they could see themselves working with the other side of the aisle. And initially, there was a lot of skepticism about coming to the table. But I think once people did come to the table and they really started to just talk to one another as individuals and see people as someone that they could potentially form a relationship with and learn from that person, I think over a period of maybe the first 6 to 9 months, that skepticism started to go away and relationships and trust started to form. And then they were able to see the issue from kind of a common viewpoint and from there develop kind of cross-sectoral solutions.
You know, Jeff, I mentioned Amy when she walked in. The Fuels Institute tried to do the same thing. And after 15 years of working in the lobbying world and 5 years before that in the political world, 20 years in politics, I got used to the cynicism of mutual hatred, mutual assured destruction in terms of any policy. And to get the people in a room to actually see them working well together kind of restored my faith and hope. And I'm still 3 years, I'm still extremely uncomfortable in that position, but it's great to see that other organizations are trying to bridge those gaps of what I believe to be artificial divides.
Yeah.
That we really can, we work together and make much more progress.
Yeah, you know, we had one stakeholder at the very first meeting who said she had goosebumps when she heard some of the things that people would say around the room at the end of the day, because the first meeting was 2 days, and even after those just first 2 days, people really started to understand these other viewpoints and perspectives. So just things like hearing from one another and hearing that everyone has the same goal. It's just we maybe disagree on how to get there.
I mean, I've had people come to me and say, John, I have never been in a meeting where I've listened to XYZ group speak. So, well, you might want to listen. You may not agree, but you need to listen to them.
Yeah.
So,
listening is key.
Big applause to you guys for making that effort. It's huge.
Yeah, and what really struck me in the first time, I'll have you take us through the story of how NACS got involved with you guys, but then the first time we had a meeting, and what Convergence does particularly well is they have convenings where they bring people together and just say, give us a room, give us a topic. We'll bring together folks we know, you bring together folks you know, and it'll be amazing. And it really is, because when you hear from people who you don't normally hear from, you totally see things that you didn't know. And what you ultimately see, and whether it's a Fuels Institute or whether it's other research that Convergence is working on, in general, I think people want the same things. Mm-hmm. But you become a little hardened in the path that you have to get there, and you don't see that everybody's trying to finish at the same place, and it's all good. But I think that's the beauty of bringing people together, because just simple things like lunch breaks. Hey, I didn't know that. And
right.
So what I thought was fascinating is NACS has been involved in the nutrition discussion with its refresh initiative for a couple of years now. And the first time, what really got us jump-started is our work with Convergence. And you want to take us through how we met each other?
Yeah, of course. So we initially were focusing on the traditional grocery retail space, and we decided to kind of stay away from schools and other settings just because there was a lot of work going on there. So we wanted to focus on the retail space where margins are slim, and it's a place where you can really promote healthier eating and purchasing among consumers. And so we were presenting at a USDA conference, and serendipitously we're sitting at the same table as Jeff. And then once we started to learn just how big of a sector the convenience stores is, and that 1 in 2 consumers goes to a convenience store every day, we just realized what a huge opportunity it is right there. And then if you look at a lot of the data that's coming out of the Hudson Institute and other places, you'll see that consumers are increasingly looking for healthier, fresh, convenient options. So it fits in perfectly with the convenience store sector.
And you mentioned the Hudson Institute. What these convenings have led to are really 2 of the major products that our Refresh initiative has been involved with in the past year. First one was a project with the Hudson Institute, where we asked them to take a look at customers and the opportunities for our members. And the report, which is online at nacsonline.com/refresh, looked at 3 things and talked about how the importance of kids and moms, and how do you communicate your offer to them, and how do you place things in stores, because moms come in the stores with kids and they don't often think that there are healthy items in stores. Second thing was all about communicating that you have it. People that want to eat healthy don't normally think, I'm going to the gas station. So how do you tell people, whether it's at road signs or pump toppers or store signs itself or sampling, that you have these items, commercials? How do you tell them that you have some of these items that people increasingly want? And the third element was breakfast is a huge opportunity. So that's the Hudson Institute report, Amy. What can you tell us about some of the things you've learned in working with us about how those findings can play out in a broader sense to consumers or to retailers?
Yeah, so, one of the refreshing things, no pun intended, about working with NACS is the fact that your industry is willing to share their learnings and to share what works and what doesn't work. So, we've had the pleasure of working with 3 of your members already to do pilot tests on in-store strategies to promote healthier foods, looking at some planogram changes and some functional messaging. And it's just been great to see, to work with them and to see what works, what doesn't work, and how we can apply that to all of your member stores in different formats and different settings. And so, with 1 in 2 customers going to a convenience store and 2/3 or more of customers looking for healthier options, it's nice to have strategies that promote healthier eating without telling the customer what to do. So you're giving them all of these fresh, healthy options that are in the store. You're helping maybe just direct them towards that healthier option while still giving them the choice.
Yeah, the latest issue of the August issue of NACS magazine has a cover story on 8 ways for retailers to incent consumers and buy more healthy items. And by the way, healthy items doesn't necessarily mean kale. It can mean nuts. It can mean various other things that are healthy that are packaged. It doesn't necessarily have to be fresh. And great cover picture on the magazine. Somebody actually drew on an apple 8 ways to grow healthy sales in a convenience store. Those words are close to those words. But that came out of another project that we developed with Convergence, with the Project on Nutrition and Wellness. And it was basically an outgrowth of the 100 ideas that you had for grocery stores. Now, 8 and 100, 8 sounds like less, but when you look at a convenience...
It technically is,
yes. It technically is 8%, I believe. But convenience stores are about 8% the size of a grocery store. So in terms of ideas per square foot, it's about the same. And it looks at various ways to incent people, talking about using floor stickers. And I was in a convenience store just a couple days ago and I noticed floor stickers. And so these are ideas that have been tested. They've been validated by a university that is known for nutrition, the Cornell Food and Brand Lab. So these are new tools that retailers have access to. Doesn't cost them a thing. We're doing the work. We're doing the effort. And they can try something without having to figure out things on their own. And that's really what this whole project is all about.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the 100 strategies for grocery stores, we simplified it to the convenience store format, and it's really things that are simple to implement for the store, and it's proven strategies. Like, for instance, you give out a sample of an apple, and that increases produce or apple sales in that store. And so, one of the nice things is there's been a lot of interest from NACS members to continue to do pilot tests, and there's a million different things that we can still test with in-store strategies, looking at, like you mentioned, breakfast solutions for busy moms and their kids, or looking at functional messaging on pump toppers or within the store, or having decals on the floor or messages around the store. So there's a lot of different things that can still be done.
We've talked about nutrition for a long time on this program in the past, and I think one of the key elements for retailers understanding convenience retailers is this is not an if or an either or. This is an and. A lot of retailers said, Sean, I'm not going to give up my core product. I got core customers that want to get the hot dog. They want to get the soda. They want to get these things. You don't have to give up those things. But if you want to attract a broader base of client and customer to be loyal to your store, you need to offer the things that they're looking for. And there's such a huge population that's looking for nutrition options. Exactly.
You don't want to alienate your core customers, but there's a huge group of consumers out there who are now, they're getting on the health food trend. They want to find healthy, fresh options that are convenient and on the go. And by expanding your offerings and just helping them find where they are in the store, you make it easy for new customers and you can increase sales. So, the research has shown now that eating healthy or selling and promoting healthy foods is profitable.
And when you think about, I know a lot of retailers say, I just need some help. And of course, NACS can help you. And then you expand beyond that. How does NACS get help? It's through groups like Convergence, that because we're part of a broader subset too. And you go to these various meetings. Amy, you had mentioned the USDA meeting, and I happen to sit next to you guys. Is anybody sitting here? And that led to two amazing projects and continuation on some other ones. And it really is just getting out there. And whether or not it's focused on you, this USDA conference was focused not on convenience stores at all. It was about a lot of other things there. But the contacts we make at NACS allow us to reach new groups and find new solutions to help retailers. So I think Convergence is a perfect example of how do you bring together, how do you convene people and have some of these great discussions. And it's fun when you have, in our office, we've had two of those in 2015. And you'll see we have these glass windows around our offices, around our big office. And you'll see people come by and everybody's writing. They're all looking, staff are looking at all these Post-it notes on the wall and what's going to happen here. And that's how it happens. That's the magic of bringing people together. They start writing ideas, something fires off of this, and all of a sudden you have a brand new idea.
Yeah, I mean, you tell people just to step outside of their world for a day or two and to get creative and to have fun with it and, make new relationships and new connections. And then, with that creativity and that energy and excitement, you can create all of these new solutions that you maybe hadn't thought of before and start to work across sectors and across organizations and then have a greater impact by doing so.
All right, so say I'm a retailer, and we now have tools and suggestions for how we can increase our sale of more nutritious options, bring in a new class of customers, hopefully boost our bottom line, because that's what we're all in the business for. Now that I've got that input, how do I measure if it's working? How do I evaluate the success or failure of different strategies so I can optimize my offer?
Yeah, so one of the great things with our working partnership is that we've also brought in, as Jeff mentioned, the Cornell Food and Brand Lab. So bringing in other groups like academics and researchers who have that capacity and can do the analysis and help us understand what does and doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think the academics is huge, not just Cornell University, but at these various other meetings, there have been folks from Johns Hopkins, University of Delaware, Duke University. There's been some pretty heavy hitters in the nutrition community that have come together, and they're working on things independently to a certain extent, then bring them together, have them focus on convenience stores, other small format, and we have a winning solution here. A lot more work to do on this.
Well, I mean, the evaluation is critical, because if I'm not already engaged in the program and say NACS and Refresh and Convergence come out and say, hey, maybe you should do this, I'm going to go, okay, show me the numbers.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, it has to be profitable. It has to be a win-win solution for consumers, for the businesses that are serving them, and for public health. And so that's what we believe in, creating these win-win solutions by bringing together groups that wouldn't normally work together. And there's tremendous interest from the public health sector, from the academic community, in helping retailers and convenience stores better understand how they can promote and market and sell healthier foods.
Is there also, with that type of relationship, you say the public health community, critical stakeholder in it, when a retailer invests in moving this direction, is there additional publicity support from these organizations who are trying to promote more healthy options in communities? What's some recommendations for retailers to say, I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna increase my nutritious offer, I'm gonna try to attract new customers and satisfy that growing desire. But I also want to make sure that my community knows it. I want to make sure that people are coming and saying, recognizing. I mean, it sounds self-serving, but you're in business. You want to get credit for what you're doing. So how do they best do that?
Of course. Well, I think to Jeff's point about the overall refresh initiative, a big thing that NACS members can do is continue to grow their community partnerships, and so that people within their community are seeing that that they are making strides to offer these healthier items. And I think, there's even potential maybe for some sort of industry-wide initiative to help identify the stores that are really doing a lot of good work in their communities, as well as expanding their offerings in their stores for consumers.
I think one of those ideas, John, is we had Frank Beard on our podcast, and he was talking about 30 days of eating nothing but gas station food. Mm-hmm. And at the end of 30 days, the good news is he was healthier. Yeah. He made some healthy choices, found some healthy places along the way. But one of the things when we talked to Frank, he also mentioned that it's sometimes challenging to figure out where these places are. So that led to conversations with Amy and others about how do we better communicate that. We can't necessarily design a road sign. We can't necessarily design pump toppers. But what are things out there that maybe NACS can do with other groups that's the equivalent of something like that, where people can just go online and say, oh, now I know where to get these things.
I mean, there's so many different little phrases and things I can say, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, did it fall? Does it make a sound? If we build it, they will come. The fact of the matter is, if we want retailers to start selling these products, one, people in the community need to know they're doing it. Right. And we need to raise awareness, because if you get some leaders in the convenience industry doing this, and they're showing that they're actually having a positive impact not only on their business but on their communities, other members in the industry are going to go, how did you do that? Yeah. And then because you have to instrument, we're sharing industry, we're going to share it. But if they do it and nobody knows they did it, nobody's going to ask them a question. So really, I think it's the implementation. It's also that amplify the message. It's so critical.
Exactly. I mean, retailers deserve recognition for all the work they've done to date and the continuing work that they're going to be doing. And I think, we can hopefully identify some ways to amplify those messages and to get them out there so that consumers in their communities know what these convenience stores are doing.
Yeah, and essentially what we're doing, and this, John, with the fuels community, it's relatively small. Mm-hmm. It's a community that once you start figuring out the players, it's, okay, now I see where I fit in. It's the same thing with the in-store offer and the nutrition offer. The community is the same thing. So the idea of bringing together disparate groups for the in-store offer and disparate groups for what's out at the pump, I think is a pretty powerful combination for how NACS can go forward in kind of presenting new ideas for retailers to enhance their business if they choose to go in that direction.
As you mentioned, 50% of Americans go to a convenience store every day. If that continues to be the case, the impact convenience channel can have on individual lives, I'm not trying to be altruistic and all grandiose here, but it's significant. Yeah. Whether it be provide them a better alternative in terms of a more efficient fuel for their vehicle or a more efficient fuel for their body. If we can start providing that and encouraging the industry to do that more often and demonstrating the value, the benefits could be exponential.
Yeah, I agree completely. And if you think about it, the more that consumers know that there are healthier offerings, you could even increase the number of customers that are going to convenience stores on a daily basis. And not to mention, we're a busy society. So when you've got people on the go constantly, the more convenient offerings there are, this is just such a huge opportunity for the sector as a whole.
No, we can definitely do all that stuff. We can definitely grow the community. We can grow the impact of what we're trying to do collectively. And from a selfish point for the convenience store industry, solidify the convenience channel's role in the community. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot of communities where we are the center of the market. And the more we embrace the changing demographic preferences, the greater our longevity is.
Yeah, and to your point, the greater that we amplify that message and increase communications, whether it be through an app, through online, or through any other channel, it will help to boost the industry.
Yeah.
And so if you want to know more about what Convergence and the Project on Nutrition and Wellness is doing, go to, of course, nacsonline.com/refresh. But what about some of the bigger issues? Where can they go to learn more, Amy?
Convergencepolicy.org.
And let's change the world together.
You've been listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. For more information about the National Association of Convenience Stores, go to nacsonline.com.